And what are we talking about? Well, essentially a very big YouTuber with the Game of Thrones community. Quinn has accused, let's just say, Sue Miller, I mean, if we want to be crude, Sue Miller and her organization. Now, he's very careful. He does not mean everyone in the organization, but just the way that Miller is running things, and she calls herself Sue the Fury, has sort of been a shill for D&D, and she's continuing to shill for HBO, but now with House of the Dragon. And his particular beef is that as a black man, they basically used his racial identity to raise their profile, but didn't really care about him. Now, I'm forewarning, I don't necessarily think Quinn is correct. I do think they used him and abused him, but I don't know if it's just a racial conflict, but he views it as kind of racism on the left. My main concern here is the issue of grifting and shilling. And again, I want to clarify, it's not in particular that I have an issue with the grifting or the shilling onto itself, because again, for the most part, it's really hard to draw the line where you're getting money for something and then your opinion is changed or shaped by it. It's really hard to tell in particular cases. But I want to raise it in this case because although I was already working on this video, I'm working on a video now with the Tolkien controversy or alleged controversy with One Ring Net. I'm not necessarily even going to agree with One Ring, but I think the thing has become so polarized in all these different fandoms. People just expect you to line up one corner or the other, and you have to stand with one corner or the other. I prefer to try to be reasonable in my opinions. So we're going to hear Quinn. This is a very long clip, so just be patient. And as well as an excerpt with how he's interacting with Miller and her people, and you'll decide for yourself whether they're kind of trying to diminish his contribution or not, and whether they're using him or not.
People never liked me. Um, I think back to the dismissive way that I've been treated by them at conventions and in messages, and I've always got the sense that the general atmosphere was that they feel like they're above me because I'm just like this silly YouTube guy that makes YouTube videos and talks in a weird, creepy voice, but doesn't actually have anything of substance to say. And on top of that, I have the audacity to talk shit about Game of Thrones sometimes. And so that's another thing. The gaslighting of people that dislike season 8 is ridiculous on Twitter. I have an opinion. I don't think the season was great. And that doesn't make me a bad person. And I'm not someone that's riding a bandwagon. I've been pointing out issues with Game of Thrones for years. And to be honest, the reaction to season 8 was predictable and justified. And I know that because I fucking predicted it. Now, I'll grant you the reaction to season 8 may have been overdramatic with the whole petition thing, which I never supported, by the way. So, but anyways, the website Watchers on the Wall is associated with Con of Thrones in a pretty significant capacity. I'm not going to say this person's name. I used to think this person was my friend, but it turns out she was just one of the people that hated me the whole time. Who knew? This person was a contributor or is a contributor to that website. Basically, they were going on Twitter about how the new Joker movie was responsible for white supremacy and how white supremacy is one of the biggest problems facing America today. I'm a black person. This is a white person. Basically, someone in me just snapped, and I quoted the tweet, and I basically said, hey, you're just another white person virtue signaling, pretending to support people of color and to care about white nationalism and to care about these issues when you personally don't even support people of color within your own community. And I said that because this person was so willing to demonize me without a word to me. And you want to talk to me about white supremacy? Do you know at Con of Thrones this year they had a panel on black representation? And I didn't even know about it. It's like they didn't even consider me, even though, hello, for a while now I've been one of the most prominent A Song of Ice and Fire / Game of Thrones content creators out there. Now, that could be bullshit because I don't know whose panel that was, so whatever. But my God, you want to talk to me about white supremacy when it was nothing to you to be like, fuck that guy. I'm just going to make a bunch of assumptions about him. I'm not going to treat him like a person, like a human being.
Just how different the landscape will make.
Yeah, just from the casting that we've seen, there are more black people in the pilot of this show than in the entire of Game of Thrones. So.
And at the summer, I would guess that maybe they're in the Summer Islands, but maybe all of Dorne connected there.
I think it will be in general more of a worldly show,
Yeah. So I'm curious if we're going to see in the East that they're causing this to happen. I'm wondering what the mysteries of the East entails.
Was that in
What's curious about that?
Was that in GT or?
Was that in?
Sorry, the pronunciation. The empire based on China.
The dates, right?
Yeah, I think so. In a few days, they're filming the last stuff for the pilot in Italy. It's the first time that they go to Italy, and they're only filming for a day in July 15th. And after that, it's going to be, actually editing and making the pilot, and then, I mean, it's going to be picked up, but obviously, but it hasn't officially happened. Yeah.
They have to get it right. They can't.
I think, I think, and probably it's going to be much more expensive than any of those other shows. So they're going to be sure that they have something special with the pilot, and then they can go to series.
It's not a cash grab, but it is their pocket of cash. It is their moneymaker. This is Game of Thrones. New show.
I think
which, by the way, is going to be for sure, right? Like, it's not going to be whatever name. It's going to be Game of Thrones. Something.
Oh, I hope not.
I think so. Yes, yes, for marketing purposes.
It probably
It's probably going to.
I mean, we can see that just in the casting that we're gonna see some different regions, not just Westeros.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't know. Maybe the racial makeup of Westeros wasn't as it is in the present.
Yes, that's very true.
We don't actually know. So.
We don't. Do you guys want to get into some of these actors we've got in here?
Sure.
Talk about some speculation about them?
Can we talk on this end too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't.
Well, I was going to say, like everyone else said, the characters are really important in how they interact with each other. But also, this is the age of heroes. So unlike Game of Thrones, this is a time from the get-go where there was more magic. Because when we're watching Game of Thrones, magic has died off. It started to die off, and now it's just now coming back. But during the Age of Heroes, during the Age of Legend, it's like already there, and I think that's important too if they want to be accurate to the canon.
Taking it to further regions, do you guys think we're gonna see like further than like the
It might be
do you think
wishful
we're gonna
thinking.
see that far?
I would really like to see YT, the Great Empire of the Dawn. I would really like to see some old, like ancient kind of Asian-looking architecture. I think it'd be really great, but I don't know. It might be wishful thinking.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Like, I feel like the tagline "Mysteries of the East" sort of implies we might see ET.
So we're almost done with our time, but I want to ask you guys a question and start wrapping it up. I want to start with you, Lisa.
Yes.
If you had to name one or two, spin-off, whether they're prequel or sequel ideas, what do you want most? I know I'm putting you on the spot right
Yeah, you are.
I am. We can move past you if you want. I just wanted to pay attention to that side of the table. It's so hard for me to see
it's okay. Thank you very much. I think I would like to see the Age of the Dragons, actually, with the Valerians.
Okay. Do you want to see the Doom? Or do you want to see just them in their power?
In their power.
In their power.
Yeah.
About them?
Can we talk on this end too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I can't.
Well, I was going to say, like everyone else said, the characters are really important in how they interact with each other.
Right, so from the video clip, it's pretty clear they're not letting him speak very much, or that woman at the end, that they're sort of just being, they're there, but they're not really being paid attention to, and some people are being allowed to dominate the conversation, and other people are just supposed to sit back and agree and nod and say, yeah, the show's going great. Now, I myself have no issue if people are fans of D&D. I think if you want to be consistent and fair, they clearly did some good things. We can't deny that. So their record is very mixed, and if you're going to highlight the positive and defend the positive, hey, that's no problem. The question is, did you hold back criticism where it was warranted? Because there clearly were warning signs before Season 8. And Quinn was one of these people that he was already saying, even before Season 8, things are not lining up here. Something is happening, something's funny. And then he noticed that, again, Sue Miller's people were suddenly becoming very negative towards him. Was this a racial thing? Was it not? Well, we're going to now hear Dragon Demands. He's going to provide additional information that it does seem that they did have some kind of financial arrangement with HBO, and so they were indeed shills for HBO.
Just refused. They said there's no way to put a positive spin on it. And they actually said, come on, kid, if we ever said something truly negative about the TV show, it would damage our business relationship with them. And I was flabbergasted at their lack of integrity, but that makes cold logic that They're just a small, privately run fan site at the end of the day for a show that exploded in popularity to Star Wars levels, to the point that mainstream media is reporting on it. You can't compete with that scope in terms of the server size you need. The only way they can compete is with exclusive content, with exclusive interviews and exclusive set reports. Even now, with the prequel stuff. And why is this allowed to happen? HBO tacitly looks the other way with a wink and a grin because they know that watchers on the wall will always report on them positively. And in return, HBO doesn't land on them with a cease and desist order. And I don't know if this is just a tacit understanding that was never explicitly worked out. Seems most probable. It's not like a conspiracy. It's just cynically, yeah. Have you been to that site recently where they'll actually yell at the site runners and article writers will yell at people in the comments section, stop criticizing the episode or we will block you from the site. This is a fan site for praising the show. Multiple times I just drop in to lurk there and go, this is how they're running things. Because they do not want a community that really reports on the show, and they weed people out. It's access journalism. They're nobodies. They don't even make analysis articles anymore. The few people that manage to argue their way in to write something negative about the show, I applaud them. But the core staff is really, you should not be criticizing this against them. And the only people left are the fanatics. And I shouldn't even be yelling about them this much. I should let them wither on the vine because they have nothing left. They backed the wrong horse. They chose wrong. In 5 years, they will be meaningless. Their entire everything that they have, Benioff and Weiss gave to them. So right now, they're hiding under a rock somewhere, and even their longtime collaborators are having a hard time putting a positive spin on this.
We can't say for sure that they were receiving something for their services from HBO, but it does seem pretty obvious that they sort of had a deal, and that even websites that were pro Game of Thrones, at least early on, became much, much more critical. But again, Sue Miller and the way she was running things decided to go a different direction. They're much more positive. They're getting all these exclusives. It seems to line up. So I'm not really defending them, but 2 points here that should be emphasized. One, and Dragon Demands himself has clarified, he's not sure whether this is a racial thing. It could be, and Quinn himself is framing it as a racial thing on the left. I myself would not really consider Sue a leftist, or what is it that makes her left wing? It is true that George Martin himself is liberal, and obviously the fandom as a whole is liberal, but I reserve the term leftist for an actual strong case like Noam Chomsky. It seems like when you say Noam Chomsky is a leftist, I kind of know what you're saying. But if you're saying this or that organization is, quote, left, and if they're, quote, tweeting about or caring about white supremacy and the Joker, it's like, okay, yeah, maybe. I don't consider those left issues. I think those are just kind of fashionable topics that somebody wants to talk about. Now, I myself am an expert on fascism, and I think if you want to discuss seriously fascist imagery in Joker, I think that's perfectly fine. But if you're just going to say really silly things about fascism and the Joker, I really don't care. So I don't see any particular political or racial slant. Maybe there is. I mean, maybe behind the scenes, Sue Miller is a racist and really doesn't like non-white people. Who knows? But I think we could definitely say there's been a corruption in the process. And obviously, we want to be careful in terms of whether she's representative. But a lot of people did do this. And I actually know a few other people who they're not naming who, to my eyes, really clearly sold themselves out and clearly tried to put a positive spin on otherwise really egregious behavior. And if anybody else did this, they would be very, very harsh on D&D. But they had financial as well as ideological incentives to be very easy on them. And the relationship is still continuing. Again, I can only go with what the evidence is, and obviously evidence itself is always murky because, again, I'm a social constructivist, so it's unclear how we're even going to frame evidence. I myself am non-white like Quinn, but I'm not a black American. I'm not African American. So maybe he's seeing things or picking up on things I don't see. Maybe. The main emphasis here has been on being a watchdog where grift is happening. And I do think this is grifting. But was it the grifting that they're talking about? I'm not so sure. But definitely this is very suspicious. So again, I'm not saying don't pay attention to articles from these people or ignore them, because he emphasizes some people in the organization are fine. It's really the way Sue Miller is doing things and the way she's running things, and just the general orientation of the website and the way that they're putting out material. So you're going to have to just decide for yourself whether you want to click on their articles and support them.